In this tutorial we're going to be taking a look at getting organised in Lightroom. Now the first thing I want to have a look at is the import dialog, just to run through a couple of things. So if I click just to set up the import dialog, we've obviously got on this left hand side the source file. So this is where our files are, and if you had a memory card connected to your computer, it would appear in here, so you could then click on that to get the source files from your memory card. Up at the top here we've got the four things you can do. We can add to the catalogue, we can move images and add them to the catalogue, we can copy, and we can use copy as DNG. Now over to the right hand side we've got the file handling panel, and what this allows us to do is to say, well, what kind of previews do we want building? Do we want minimal, standard, one-to-one? Embedded in Sidecar actually uses the preview that's generated in your camera itself, and that's where I tend to leave it set so that I can, it cuts down the import time, and it also means that I spend less time actually generating previews, because there's a lot of images that I probably won't even have a look at. So generating full resolution previews for them is taking up a lot of space for not much gain. Build smart previews, I'm not going to go into that in this particular video. Don't import suspected duplicates. This is useful to have set. And this is for, if you like many, if you use your memory card more than once. So what I mean is you'll go out and take 100 shots, download them, get them onto Lightroom, and then you'll go out and take another 100 shots without clearing your memory card down. Absolutely nothing wrong with doing it this way, but if you don't have this ticked, then you could end up it causes more problems, and you could end up uploading images twice. If you do this, then what Lightroom will do is it will tell you, oh, I've got all these already. So, and it basically just makes them go dark so that you can't import them. This little piece here, make a second copy to, it just allows you to make a copy while you're importing of your images. You could make them, there's a breadcrumb trail here, you can send them to another drive completely, which is what you would normally do. It's just basically well, I don't know how you describe it really. Lightroom doesn't want anything to do with it basically. Lightroom doesn't have any attachment to it, it just does the job for you. So you've got like a quick and dirty backup of all your raw files or JPEGs on another drive, and it just does it while you're importing. Add to collection, this was put in a couple of generations ago. For me it's a little bit of a chocolate fireguard, because there's very few things I can think of that would mean I would want to add every single image that I'm importing into a collection to start with. Not saying it might not be useful, I'm just saying I've not found a use for it yet. So I wouldn't have that ticked. Develop settings, difficult one, because we could get access to all the develop settings, but you can't choose which to apply to which images. So you can't say, well, the first image I want black and white, and the second image I don't want black and white, I'll leave as colour. It's all or nothing. So basically the only thing I can see of any use in here is if you had a particular sharpening algorithm that you wanted to apply to every single image as you imported it. Keywords, really useful. It's the building, it's a cornerstone really of Lightroom, that if you use keywords you will have a happy life with Lightroom. But on import you can only ever put really a generic keyword in here. It's more specific keywords you would have to put in later on. And that's about it. Once you've done all that, you can click import and import your images. Oh, I nearly forgot. If you're moving or copying as DNG, then you get an extra couple of panels. So if I click on that, you can see that I get a destination panel where it's basically, here's where the image is, I want to copy it as a DNG, and that's where I want to put it, and you've got to designate that. Now another panel that comes available is file renaming, and this where we can say, okay, I'm going to rename the files. We've got a couple of templates that you can use, which are here. We've got custom name sequence, and then you've actually got an editor at the bottom where you can actually create your own file naming sequence. So, well, let's have a little look at that. If I said, well, I want to rename these images, I'm bringing them in, then in the editor here, I've got the preset that says date and file name. You can see here that it's between the little curly brackets, that's the date and that's the file name. And that's the example of what it'll look like. That's the date and the image number, and then the actual 001. Now you can change all this, so I can get rid of all that and say, well, what do I actually want to do? Well, I may have, let's say, Ken Fisher Photography. I may want KFP or some letters or something to start each of my file names off. And I'll have an underscore. I do like underscores as separators. And then I can add, do I want the file name? Well, let's have a look through, see what else we've got. We can import, yeah, let's have the file. I don't like the suffix number, but we'll have the file name. And we'll insert that. So you can see now I've got KFP and then the file name. Let's say I'm looking at, oh, just a minute, I didn't mean to do that. Let me get rid of that one. Well, my mouse is not playing ball today. Okay, so we'll go for the file name. And then we can decide how many we think. So I think, well, I'm going to get up to 1,000. So I'm going to put that on as 1,000. Do I want the date in it? I mean, it's getting a bit ridiculous now. We're going to end up with a huge file name. But you can make quite sophisticated things where you could, say, have it set up for naming different cameras, for naming the images that come from different cameras. And if you want, you can put the date in and the dimensions and the show. You can put Uncle Tom Cobley and all, so you end up with a huge long file name. But one thing to do, once you've done all this, you've really, the most sensible thing that you would think would be to click done. But that doesn't work. All that does is just does this for you and renames one image for you. What you've got to do is go up to preset, because you can see here I've got date and file name edited. And so I don't want to save it as the date file name. I can save it as, let's say, I'll now save current settings as a new preset. And I'll save this out as let's say KFP file name sequence. So it just tells you what it is, KFP file name sequence. And click create. And then you can click done or cancel, it doesn't matter. Because what happens now is every time you import, you can go along to the template browser and you will have your thing in there. So I've now got KFP file name sequence in there. So I just click on it and it'll automatically put that in on every image as it comes in. And I think that's about it. So now you can go and click the import button again. Okay, let's have a look at some of the exciting things in Lightroom itself. Well, let's go to the folders panel. Here you can see this is my C drive, Bootcamp C drive. And if I click the little disclosure triangle, I've got a folder in there called Lightroom Workshops. And in that folder, I've got lots of subfolders with lots of different images in. Now, what Lightroom shows you is when you're looking at the amount of images, is what's in the folder and any subfolders. So my Lightroom Workshops folder has got 226 images in, and that's basically the sum of all this lot. if I now go to rename images folder, you see I'll only see the 23 that's in that folder. And if I go down to move folders, I'll only see the 26 that's in that folder. Now if you want to rename an image, let's just go back here and say I'll click on that one to actually activate it. What we can do is rename single images, and we can do that from the library menu and down to rename photos. There's a nice keyboard shortcut that works on most Windows machines of F2. If you've got a Mac, your F keys are probably all rewired for something else, so F2 probably won't work, and on some Windows machine it's the same. So you've really got to go to the menu, so library and rename photo. And this is from one of my classes the other day. Yep, I remember that. Okay, so what we can do is go down here and say, well, what we'll call it, give it custom name. And it's obviously York. I've just got a silly preset in there at the minute, but we'll just call it York. And it shows you an example here of what it's going to look like. And then click OK. And there it is. That's been renamed now to York. Now if I want to rename more than one image, let's say I want to rename all of these images in this folder, I can Control and A or Command and A on a Mac to highlight them all. And then I can go to the library menu again, rename photos, but this time I'll try custom name sequence. So I've now got York, and I'm going to start at number 1. So I'm going to click OK, and that'll rattle its way through there. So now I've got York 1, 2, 3, 4, York 5, right through to York 23. So renaming images is no problem. And this is what you've got to get the hang of with Lightroom, that Lightroom has all the tools that you need in it to be able to do all this kind of work. There's no need to go onto the desktop or the Finder to do anything, move files, delete files, because if you do that, when you get back to Lightroom, Lightroom will get a bit narky with you. So it's best to let Lightroom know what you're doing all the time by doing it in Lightroom. We can rename folders exactly the same. If we've got a folder that we think, well, we could do with that rename, what is it really? It was some holiday shots maybe. So I can right click and go down to rename, and then call it holiday shots. I don't think they are actually, but anyway, but we'll just call them something else and click save. You can see now that it shot it to the bottom because it works alphabetically, that now we've got holiday shots with 12 images in. Now we can actually move images about, and this is part of really getting organised with Lightroom if you're not already organised. So we've got here some folders with different images in. We've got 3 from Blackpool, 3 from Lincoln and 3 from York. Oh no, sorry, 6 from Lincoln and 5 from York. But if we had, let's say, these images in here, we've got, well, they're all from York actually, so that's not going to be much good. Let's have a look at collections, see if we've got all different in there. Oh, we've got some different places in here. Here we've got some images from Sheffield, and we've got some images from Elsecar, and we've got some images from around Elsecar. And at the moment they're all in a folder called collections. This isn't a collection, it's just a folder called collections. But they're all in one folder. So what I can say now is, well, okay, I'd like them in a separate folder. Well, I've got some from Sheffield. So what I'll do is I'll right click on collections, and I can go down to rename, and I'll call this Sheffield. And then click save. So now I've got a folder. Oh, I've just renamed my folder. Never mind. I'll just drag it and drop it into holiday shots, and it says moving files on disk. Yeah, I want to move it. So now I've got my Sheffield folder inside my holiday shots folder. And now if I've got something else, let's say there's some export images. Oh yeah, well there's 3 here from Elsevier that are stuck with these things, which is my logos, which I don't think they go together. So I can select all of those and I can drag them into holiday shots. And again, it's saying, do you know I'm moving them? Yes, I do. So I've got some from Sheffield, and in my holiday shots now, let's say I've got some, where are they? Oh, these are from Waddington. That's right. So let's make a folder for Waddington. I can right click, create a folder inside and call it Waddington. And there it is down at the bottom. It's got no images in it. So now I can go up and select my images that are from Waddington and drag them into Waddington. So I'm now moving files around, and it already says this one already exists, so it can't do it. That's okay. Let me try that again. There we go. Yeah, it says that. But now in Waddington, we've got 8 of our images in a separate folder. So there's everything that you need is actually in Lightroom to be able to do this, to make folders, to delete folders, or if you want to delete an image, then let's go into a folder and say, well, this one looks much similar to one of the others I've got. So what I do is I just right click and remove photo. Now it gives me 2 options here, and they are different. There is remove photo, which will just take it out of Lightroom and put it, but not delete it from your disk. All it's doing really is just deleting the catalogue entry. And delete from disk will obviously delete the catalogue entry, and it will remove the file and put it in your trash can. So be careful whether you remove or delete. I'm not going to do either, so I'll just click cancel. Well, that's an important part of Lightroom, working within a folder structure, and this folder structure is exactly the same as what's on your computer. It's not a separate one that lives in Lightroom, it's just a reflection of what your computer has. So if you make a change here and rename an image or a folder, it will then be renamed on your desktop, on your computer. Right, so we've got as images in a nice structure that we understand. Not this one particularly, but we have a structure that we understand. And what do we do next? Because let's say we have a project where we want to make a slideshow. Well, we might want images from every single folder in the structure, and we might even want images from another drive. Well, that causes us a problem because we can't. All we'd have to do is we'd have to make another folder called Slideshow, and then transfer each of the images that we want into that folder. Well, now with collections we can do that virtually. Because of the way Lightroom works and its catalogue, we've actually got a virtual thing called collections. Let me just get rid of that. That was still there from the other day. We'll get rid of that. No, I don't want to rename it. I want to delete it. There we go. Right, so what I want to do is make a collection for a slideshow. So I'll click plus, create collection, and I'll call it slideshow. And then I'll click create. And now I've got a slideshow collection that's got no images in it. Now what I can do is say, well, okay, well, I'll go to this folder and I fancy this night shot of York. So I'll just click on it and drag it and drop it into the slideshow. Now what I haven't moved an image at the moment. I've just dragged in what they call an instance of it into the slideshow collection, which is basically a copy of the catalogue entry. So I'm not moving images. I've got a virtual copy of that image in my slideshow folder now. If I click on there, you'll see there it is. So now I can go and get the rest of them. So there's none in there. Editing images. Oh, I fancy this one, so I'll drag that one into my slideshow. And I like that one. I love that one as well. And let's go somewhere else. Well, there's two. Oh, I like that one. And we'll have that one. So you can see you can build up a collection, a virtual collection of images. And the good thing about this is that if you go to any of the other modules, so if I say, well, I'm going to make a slideshow, so I can go to the slideshow module. Here you'll see that I've got my collections in all the parts. So now I've not got 300 images where I'm scrolling backwards and forwards on the film strip. I've just got the 5 images that I've decided that I'm going to make a slideshow out of. So that's collections. Very, very powerful. Now, smart collections. Well, what are they and why are they so smart? Well, smart collections are ones where you have to define a rule. So you can't delete an image from a smart collection, and you can't add an image to a smart collection. What you've got to do is make an image, if you like, agree with a rule. So here, let's say, and these come with Photoshop, and they give you an idea of really what they are and how they work. So here I've got my coloured red collection, and there's nothing in it, this smart collection. And this means that there's none have got the colour red assigned as a colour. So let's go back to one of my folders, and I'll click on that image. And then I'll press the 6 key on the keyboard, and that will assign me a red little edging. And if I move away from that image, you'll see that it actually puts it all around the outside. So I've assigned a colour to that image. And you'll see now that coloured red's been updated. Now the only way to remove that now from that coloured red is to make sure that it now doesn't agree with that rule. In other words, it hasn't got a red. So I can do that by, say, assigning another colour to it. So if I do a 7, it'll attach a yellow border to it. And now you'll see my coloured red has gone because it's not red anymore. And you can do exactly the same with your star ratings. So if I say, well, I'll make that one a 5-star rating, you'll see my 5 stars has now gone up to 2. And I'll click on another one and say, well, that's definitely a 5-star, and I've gone up to 3. So I can keep a track really of all my 5 stars, my 4 stars, and it's automatically done as soon as I don't have to add it to the collection. All I've got to do is give it 5 stars and it'll automatically put it in there. Now if we have a look at this, if we double click, it actually opens up and so we can edit the smart collection. And this smart collection here is called 5 stars. And this is the rule. And it's generally, there's 3 parts to it. So there's a rating. So basically I can say anything from the metadata. Snapshots, label, whatever. And I'll just say, no, I want to know the rating. And then there is it greater than or equal to? You've got the choice of all this. Yep, well, I want it greater than or equal to. And then 5 stars. And then you can save it out. And once you've saved it, you've got 5 stars. So then the only way to make it take something out of that smart collection is to make it not agree. So if I drop that down to 4 stars, it now disappears. And if I drop that one down to 4 stars, that one disappears. So I have had students that have been pulling their hair out trying to put images manually into smart collections, but that's not how they work. Now once you build up a few collections, you will get quite a lot, so there is a way of tidying it up a little bit, and we can do that by creating collection sets, which is like a folder to keep your collections in. So if I call this my collections, and I don't want it inside anything, so I'll untick that and I'll click create. So I've now got a folder, if you like, or a collection set called My Collections. So I can now click on my Slideshow collection and I can drag it and drop it into there. So now My Collections I can close up, and it makes it a heck of a lot tidier now when I can organise all my collections into a collection set or into several collection sets.
Okay, next we've got keywords. Now keywords are a vital part of your organisational strategy because they allow you to search for specific images in what could be, you might have quite a large image library. Now you can add many keywords to each of your images, and the image itself will suggest keywords that may be useful. So here for instance, we might want the keyword of York, maybe want the moon, we may want the night sky, we may want blue, anything at all that would help narrow down the selection. So if you've got 100,000 images and you can narrow it down with your keywords to just 4 or 5, the image you want will be in there, and then you could mark that some other way, either as a flag or a pick. Now in the library panel we've got 2 areas where we can add keywords. We've got a keywording panel and we've got a keyword list. Now anything you put in the keywording panel actually just populates the keywording list, and this list just builds up. Every keyword you add goes into here. Now we can add a new keyword, and it's often better to think about your keywords even when you've got no images to attach the keywords to. But we'll start off by saying, okay, for this image, let's say what keyword do we want? Well, we can add a keyword, and we'll say York. We don't want any of these, and then we'll click create. And now we've got a keyword there for York that's got 0 images in it. So what we can do is we can drag an image from the timeline and drop it over the keyword, or we can drag the keyword and drop it over the image, and now both these images will have a keyword attached. So in the keywording panel now we can see that they've both got the keyword of York attached, that one and that one. If we want to apply that keyword to all the images, then we can select them all, Control and A, and then we'll get the York keyword and drag it and just drop it over any of the images. And now that puts the image, now we've got 5 images that have the keyword York attached to them. And if I deselect them, if you hover over the number here, we've got the number 5, there's a little arrow appears, and this shows the photos that have these keywords. So if we go to another folder, and then we say, well, how many images have got the keyword York? I can click on that, and it'll just drag out those images that have that keyword on. And we can put multiple keywords on. So on this one, let's say we want York, and we could have, say, castle, and then just press return. Oops, and I've spelt it wrong. I want a T in there. That's it, Castle, York, return. So now this image has just got York, but this one has got Castle and York. And this is really powerful in being able to search and find your images really quickly. And you can see castle has now appeared in my keyword list. And you can add and remove keywords as is your want. Well, that's it for some of the organisational tools that we have in Lightroom Classic CC. I do hope that was useful to you. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.